afternoon, everyone. This is Tony from her Homestead Skills, and today I want to touch on another little topic that is on many people's minds, and I think that they have a little bit of a different perspective on it than I do, and that is what goes on at these meetings where all these world leaders are getting together to decide the fate of the rest of us. And I think a lot of people are very concerned about what they are doing there, and perhaps rightly so. But my own personal feeling on that matter is that they really don't have the control that they think they do. They're trying to let people who control certain countries and governments and trying to let them believe that it's to their advantage to work together to achieve whatever ends that they are looking to achieve, that some of us are kind of wondering what the end result is and who it benefits, and we don't really feel it benefits the average person, but it just costs the average person, and that is a legitimate concern, since all they seem to be doing is saying how they need more money for this and more money for that, and create fear and create panic and destroy economies and destroy countries. And I personally believe that they'll fail in their endeavors, and there's a reason for that, and it's a very, personally I feel it's a very legitimate reason, and I'd like to express my thoughts, and maybe you can let us know what you think and what your beliefs are. I really don't want to get into the political aspect of this. They can't rule top down anymore and expect that that's going to work. And one only has to look at what's going on in places like China and Iran and Brazil to know that control from the top down and starving people and making them fear only goes so far, and people fight back. And I understand in the streets of Iran there are still protests going on, and that's been going on for months. There have been protests by farmers, truckers on this side of the world. There have been protests, quite seriously, in Brazil to protest what they felt was an illegitimate government. I think governments have more to fear than the population does at this point. I don't think that China would have given into their zero issue outlook until the people rose up against what they were doing. After 3 years of being held down, they'd had enough. The other thing is, why are all these people trying to come into the U.S. from, over 100 different countries? And I could tell you it's economics. They recognize that from their perspective, that this would be a better place, North America would be a better place to be than where they're at. That it's less repressive in their minds, and it probably is less repressive. Although I think sometimes these poorer nations don't understand what wealthier nations deal with. They have their own set of problems. So why are they trying to come here? I think what is happening around the world is the same thing that happened in the U.S., where there was a war to determine if the country would stay whole or if it would split up. And I think that the world is going through something like that as well, to determine what the status of each government is going to be, what the status of the individuals are going to be. Now, in the U.S., they fought long and hard for freedoms, and they won. And people are starting to fight long and hard for freedoms in other countries. And they're going to have to do it. They're going to have to do it on their own. That battle cannot be fought by somebody else for them. And yes, there are martyrs. There are people that stand out amongst the crowd, and they're the first ones in the fray, and they're probably the first ones to suffer the consequences of it. I, for one, do remember Tiananmen Square. I remember how horrific that was. And yet, it has taken quite a number of years, but the population is starting to show a little gumption again. The ladies in Iran certainly are to be admired. They have probably been the most oppressed group in the Middle East for the longest time. And yes, people are rising up. They're beginning to realize that oppression is wrong, that there's no reason why they should be treated subhuman, substandard. And that's happening all over the world. It's not just in certain parts. It's everywhere. So my bottom line belief is that until the individual is respected, the mother is respected, the father is respected, the child is respected, and each is given their own, what's the word? Each is honored. Each is allowed to reach their full potential. Now, you want a country to advance, you want a people to advance, you allow them to reach their full potential. You don't stop and say, no, you're only this good, you only deserve this much, and this is all we're going to allow you. A country will never advance like that. A people will never advance like that. That is destructive. So, until these leaders of these countries understand that their population don't belong to them, that they govern by the will of the people and the will of God, and that they should act accordingly and have their people's interests at heart. And if they do, and they are righteous rulers, well, pretty much their country will advance. And whether some of these efforts that these global leaders are trying to do have some validity or not, unless it benefits everyone, there is no value in it just benefiting the leaders of certain countries. It has to benefit the population if they want to succeed. So don't tell me that global warming is bad while you fly the private jet, until you're willing to walk in my shoes, or allow me to walk in yours, or meet us halfway. Whatever you want will not come to fruition, because you're not better than me and I'm not better than you. We're equal. And it's not, okay. Equal is one of those words that tend to get people up in arms. Yes, I don't think men and women are actually equal in function. We are different. But we are equally valid and important to society, and we equally have a role to play in order to advance society. So, and each needs to be respected. Okay, so this battle for control, power, will end, and it will not end the way that there are those that propose to try and make it end that way. It will end such that there will be a lot of difficulty. And yes, I agree. I'm not telling people to not stock up, that things are going to get great. No, they're not. They're going to get really bad before they get any better. Before these leaders recognize that they're on the wrong path. that they can't govern from the top down. Perhaps in certain ways they can, but my body needs to be respected. My home needs to be secure. My town needs to be secure. My country needs to be allowed to be what it is. My culture needs to be honored, allowed. There's no reason why we all have to be the same, because we're not the same. We're all different. Everyone is unique. And all cultures are interesting. You find if you get to know other cultures that, yeah, there are some very unique and lovely things about each one of them, and there are some things that you probably wouldn't want because it's so foreign to you, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's different and it's something that you're not familiar with. People in other countries are wanting the freedoms that we have had here. We've had them taken away from us for a few years now, but now we've recognized that that has occurred, that they've used fear very successfully, very, very successfully, to separate us from our loved ones, to destroy families, to destroy individuals, to take away incomes, to make people dependent. And we recognize that all these things they've caused a tremendous amount of harm. They have not helped. Most people that are awake recognize the damage that has been done to children, to old people, to young families, and they want change. We'll never go back to where we were. That will never happen. But we can move forward. We can move society forward into something that we want to see, that we feel is better for our family and our children, and that is what we have to fight for. I don't think that we have to conform to every crazy idea that is pushed out there that somebody wants us to conform to, but we certainly have to pull back, look at what we want out of life, how we want our families to succeed. I mean, everyone wants their children to succeed. Everyone wants their children to be happy. Everyone wants a happy home. Everyone wants a certain amount of freedom from care and worry. And there's no reason why we all shouldn't be working towards that. And yes, in the short term, we are going to struggle. And eventually, even those in power will realize how, unless they actually learn to appreciate those that they think they are governing, they'll never achieve the greatness that could be theirs. That's the word. Anyway, just a few thoughts. Do let me know what you think. Tell me if you think I'm totally off the mark and wrong. That's okay. I don't have any issue with that. We all have different opinions and we all have different beliefs. What do you think you have to do to improve the situation in society right now? Anyway, just a few thoughts. Tony from Her Homestead Skills. Hope you enjoyed this one and hope you contribute. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.